The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time is a game that needs little to no introduction. It has been lauded as one of the best video games of all time, and has gone on to spawn several successful sequels. In addition, it has also been credited towards inspiring many talented developers, leading to games such as the Dark Souls trilogy and Okami. Even after the series has moved past the confines of the Nintendo 64, Ocarina still remains culturally relevant to this day. From speedrunners going for world records, streamers figuring out what to do next in randomizers, or new players picking up the game for the first time, Ocarina has stood the test of time, and is still a game that anyone can pick up and play to gain either deeper appreciation or new love. This is why Ocarina of Time is a timeless classic. The story opens in the secluded Kokiri forest, where a young boy named Link is having a nightmare. He sees a young girl and her caretaker riding away on horseback, and as he turns around, Link is met face to face with a man in black armor before the nightmare abruptly ends. Elsewhere, a fairy named Navi is assigned to Link by the Great Deku Tree, the guardian of Kokiri Forest. Navi wakes Link up and says that the Great Deku Tree has summoned him and that they need to get going. As the pair arrive, they learn two things. First, the Great Deku Tree has been poisoned by a wicked man of the desert, and he doesn't have much longer to live. Second, Link must leave the forest and set out for Hyrule Castle to meet with the Princess of Destiny, but not before being given the Kokiri's Emerald. On his way out of the forest, Link is greeted by Saria. Wanting one last moment between them, she offers him her ocarina as a parting gift and as a memento. After a heartfelt goodbye to his childhood friend, Link makes off for Hyrule Castle. Infiltrating the castle and sneaking past the guards, Link meets Princess Zelda face to face for the first time. Peeking into the king's chambers, the duo get their first glances at Ganondorf, leader of the Gerudos, and the wicked man from the desert who poisoned the Great Deku Tree. Zelda suspects that he plans to overthrow the Hylian royal family and claim the Triforce, the power of the gods, for himself. She explains the Triforce is in the Sacred Realm, the entrance to which is locked behind the Door of Time, housed inside the Temple of Time. To open the door, however, 3 spiritual stones, one of which Link already has, are needed, along with the Hylian royal family's sacred treasure, the Ocarina of Time. Their plan after that is simple: acquire all 3 spiritual stones, enter the Sacred Realm, and obtain the Triforce before Ganondorf can claim it for himself. After a swift escort out of the castle thanks to Zelda's caretaker, Impa, Link sets his sights on Death Mountain and Zora's domain to obtain the Goron's Ruby and the Zora Sapphire. Following becoming sworn brothers with the Goron tribe and getting engaged to a Zora princess, Link acquires both of their spiritual stones. With no clue about the concept of marriage and all 3 spiritual stones in tow, Link heads back to Hyrule Castle, only to find that he's too late. Ganondorf has assassinated the king and made his intentions to overthrow the royal family clear, wanting the throne for himself. Seeing his nightmare become reality before his very eyes, Link catches Zelda and Impa riding off, but not before Zelda tosses the Ocarina of Time away. Just like his nightmare, however, Ganondorf appears right behind the young hero, inquiring about Zelda and Impa's whereabouts. Link, steadfast against the King of Thieves, draws his sword to no avail. He is easily overpowered by Ganondorf and is unable to stop him. As Ganondorf rides off, Link dives down into the moat and retrieves the Ocarina of Time. Zelda, leaving a message to him via the Ocarina, teaches him the final key to the Door of Time, the Song of Time. With everything he needs now at his disposal, Link opens the door inside the Temple of Time, and inside finds the Master Sword. As he goes to pull it, he is unable to move, and Ganondorf takes the opportunity to enter the Sacred Realm and claim the Triforce for himself. Awoken by the sage Rauru, Link and Navi have travelled forward in time by 7 years. During that time, Ganondorf claimed the power of the Triforce, became the evil king, and took over Hyrule. Rauru explains that at the time, Link was not ready to wield the Master Sword, but as an adult, he is ready to summon the 6 other sages and seal away Ganondorf. After being released from the Chamber of the Sages, Link meets the enigmatic Sheik, the last survivor of the Sheikah tribe. He instructs the green-clad hero to go all over Hyrule to find and awaken 5 of the 6 sages. Many of the sages that Link must awaken are people he knew and befriended as a child, from the kind-hearted Saria, the boisterous Darunia, to the romantically interested Ruto. After exiting the Temple of Time, it's immediately apparent how much has changed in 7 years. Hyrule Castle is replaced by Ganon's Castle, a grim example of his influence across the kingdom. The market, a once bright and glee-filled town square originally filled with people playing with animals and couples dancing, is now a desolate reminder of what used to be, overrun with redeads. As the passage of time moves on, so do the people. Some characters grow up, some don't. Some are still alive and kicking. Some have passed on into the next life. Some have attained great power. Some have lost everything they held dear. Link has a lot of catching up to do after spending the past 7 years in the Temple of Time. After freeing the 5 sages, Rairu sends a message to Link for him to wait at the Temple of Time, as there is someone important waiting there for him. That someone being Sheik. He decides to tell Link the full truth of what happened after the door to the Sacred Realm was opened, as Ganondorf's heart was unbalanced, and the Triforce broke off into 3 pieces. Ganondorf kept the Triforce of Power. Link was entrusted with the Triforce of Courage, and the last piece, the Triforce of Wisdom, was bestowed upon the now transformed Princess Zelda. Unfortunately, Ganondorf, now knowing Zelda's location, uses his magic to trap her in a crystal and lures Link into a showdown at his castle. With all the sages awakened, a bridge is formed allowing Link to raid Ganon's castle and take the King of Evil on once and for all. After a relentless fight between the two, Link comes out on top as the victor, and in a desperate attempt to take both Link and Zelda down with him, starts to collapse his castle. Succeeding in escaping the crumbling architecture, Link and Zelda believe themselves safe, until they hear some noises from beneath the rubble. Ganondorf rises up and, using the last of his energy, transforms into Ganon. Ganon knocks the Master Sword out of Link's hands, forcing him to improvise for long enough to safely retrieve his trusty sword. After a long and grueling fight, Link lands the finishing blow to Ganon, and all 7 sages combine their power to seal Ganondorf away in the Dark Realm. Zelda thanks the heroic swordsman for his deeds, and using the Ocarina of Time, sends the hero back to his childhood. As he's transported back in time as a child, Navi, having fulfilled her task, flies off, and the two go their own separate ways. The game ends on the shot of Link and Zelda meeting once again as children, this time with Link knowing of Ganondorf's deception, ready to stop him in this timeline as well. Ocarina's story is important as the ending splits off into 3 varying timelines: Downfall, Child, and Adult. The Downfall timeline has Link failing at the hands of Ganondorf, and leads into A Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, and the Oracle games. The Child timeline has Child Link informing the Hylian royal family of Ganondorf's deception, and leads into Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess. Finally, the Adult timeline follows the events after Adult Zelda transports Link back in time, and leads into the Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, and Spirit Tracks. The plot, while basic, is a great coming-of-age story. A young boy sets off to fulfill his destiny of saving the land from monsters and defeating the evil king. Along the way, he makes some lifelong friends and grows up into a courageous knight. Fairly standard for a Zelda game plot, but they were able to achieve better characterization and cinematography thanks to the switch to 3D. Being able to see character expressions helps to make the characters more endearing, whether they're smiling, sad, or surprised. Playing around with different camera angles brings different perspectives, playing to certain characters' strengths, such as Sheik's mysterious nature, or Link's unwavering courage. Ocarina had some very big shoes to fill when it came to adapting the Zelda formula in a 3D environment. The biggest hurdle was the switch from an overhead perspective. Every game in the series prior used a top-down view, making gameplay and puzzles simple to understand on a basic level. In A Link to the Past, Link can only move with the D-pad in 8 directions, swing his sword with the B button, and use other forms of movement such as running. Ocarina allows for a greater deal of abilities and attacks for Link right from the get-go. Side hopping, jump slashing, backflipping. All of these are made possible because of Z targeting. When holding down Z, Navi will hover around something of interest. For combat, Link enters the battle ready stance. When locked on, he is able to strafe around an enemy, block their attack with his shield, and use one of his trusty tools to defeat said enemy. For exploration and puzzles, Navi will tend to hover around certain areas and glow green, indicating that a secret is nearby, or that a sign can be read that will give a helpful clue. Locking on greatly expands Link's repertoire of attacks by holding directions or doing other inputs. Holding forward offers the thrust, which is a great distanced attack for an enemy in front. Holding either left or right gives a series of horizontal slashes, ideal for hordes of foes. Pressing A grants the jump attack, amazing for closing distance, or when a strong hit is needed to finish the fight. Every single one of Link's attacks has their own specific use, and each weapon, be it one or two-handed, will have different attacks. Learning which attacks to use in conjunction with Z targeting is key. In addition, tapping Z will also reset the camera behind Link, helpful when looking around corners. Z targeting flows perfectly with the gameplay of a Zelda title, allowing the player to focus their attention on one singular attraction. Going from exploring Link's surroundings to finding something of note and using Z targeting to lock onto it feels natural, and therefore is integral to a 3D Zelda entry. Ocarina's Z targeting system paved the way for lock-on targeting systems in future titles. Examples include the Devil May Cry series, the aforementioned Dark Souls trilogy, and the Kingdom Hearts franchise. It wasn't just Z targeting that helped to change Link's moveset, however, as he has plenty of new and returning tools to aid him in his adventure. Equipment such as the hookshot, boomerang, and the bow can now be aimed in a first-person view, allowing for greater precision. Magic also makes a return with spells for teleportation within dungeons, summoning magical barriers, and casting a large damaging fire sphere. The returning spin attack benefited greatly from the move to 3D, as it can now be performed easily with a 360 motion on the control stick and B. Finally, Link is able to ride his trusty steed, Epona. Riding her is Link's best form of travel, as she can cover large tracts of land in little time, and Link can aim his bow whilst riding. Link's greatly expanded moveset allows for a good amount of freedom for combat, exploration, and puzzle solving. The shift from 2D to 3D also warranted a change for level and dungeon design. Working in 3D added a lot of verticality to each room, from the central rooms in nearly every dungeon teasing where Link can travel to the more he progresses, to the many rooms teeming with enemies to defeat. The dungeons as Child Link are fairly basic, but each one serves to teach the players something new, from how to deactivate locked doors to using items found in their respective dungeons. The first one, inside the Deku Tree, is an excellent starting level, as it teaches the player everything they need to know about how a dungeon works. Climbing up the vines, Link goes into a room where he encounters a Deku Scrub. Link disarms his foe, and the scrub runs off. Straight ahead is another door. He jumps the platform, and inside is the fairy slingshot. With it, Link is able to clear the rest of the Deku Tree. This creates the basic Zelda dungeon formula. After exploring half the dungeon, Link obtains a new item that allows him to explore the rest, and leads to the boss at the end, where he uses said item in a fight against them. After going forward in time, The bar is raised when it comes to dungeon design. Where inside the Deku Tree was a great introductory dungeon for a child, the Forest Temple is perfect for adult Link's first dungeon. By this point in the game, Link is pretty well equipped with a better sword and shield, more heart containers, and plenty of experience. Forest Temple ups the ante by adding in more challenging enemies and more complex puzzles. Having fights against enemies such as Stalfos are an excellent challenge, as they require a more thoughtful approach to combat, requiring patience and striking when their guard is down. The overall tone of each dungeon is unique from one another as an adult. Forest Temple takes place in an overgrown mansion, hidden deep within the Lost Woods. Occupied by the four Poe sisters, most of the mansion is filled with shrubbery and vines, with the music providing the perfect backdrop. The Shadow Temple, a dungeon hidden behind the graveyard in Kakariko Village, is filled with Hyrule's dark and bloody history inscribed into the walls. Creepy and eerie enemies such as Stalfos, Deadhead, and Redead skulking about every part of the dungeon. The Spirit Temple, a sacred monument hidden deep within the Gerudo Desert, teeming with traps around every corner to protect its inner secrets. Going back and forth as a child and adult to shine the light on the truth and lead the way forward. Most of the dungeons as an adult follow the same principle that the Forest Temple establishes, with a few exceptions here and there. Many of them may require Link to have something beforehand to enter, such as an item like the Iron Boots or Lens of Truth, or a new tunic to survive their respective conditions. Every dungeon is oozing with intricate design and little details, along with some outstanding boss fights. Not every dungeon is of the same level of quality, but Ocarina has a few of the best designed dungeons in the series. It also has some of the most iconic tracks in the series, with compositions such as the Song of Storms, Gerudo Valley, and Saria's Song, which can get any rock-headed Goron out of a funk. What's amazing about every song in the game is that the hardware of the Nintendo 64 limited how many sounds they could use to 5. Even with the limitations in place, they were able to make some of the most memorable songs in the series that still remain popular today. The impact that Ocarina of Time had on the industry was undeniable, as it set a new standard for not only 3D adventure games, but numerous other genres as well. Many games have Ocarina to thank for its revolutions in gameplay, the iconic story and music, as well as the innovations building off of the previous 2D installments. It does have its fair share of faults, such as a lot of going in and out of menus, Navi can get a tad annoying when she tries to give a hint sometimes, and some characters talk for much longer than necessary. But putting all of that aside, Ocarina of Time laid out a great template of what a 3D Zelda entry should follow and build upon for success, and it still holds up tremendously well to this day. Even after 25 years, it is still as timeless as ever. Thank you for watching this video. This has been my first time putting together a project like this, and it took much longer than I initially anticipated. A few quick shoutouts though. Thank you to Games Done Quick for allowing me to use footage of the Ocarina of Time run. Thank you to my mates Nez and Cardarian for lending me their Okami and Kingdom Hearts gameplay respectively. Thank you to my good friend Saving Termina, or ST, who helped me with my script writing. And thank you to everyone who helped lend in their input while I was editing the whole video together. There's too many to name, but Thank you all, I appreciate the input so much. The next video will be covering the sequel, Majora's Mask. I can't be sure when that will drop, but I will keep you all posted either here on YouTube or on Twitter. In the meantime, you can stay up to date with me on my socials here, and until next time, take care.